With Christmas coming, a focus in most classrooms through the last weeks of the school year leading up towards Christmas time will be Christmas and Advent. It often features over a number of weeks. There are a lot of presentations that can fit with this. There can be the introduction to the liturgical calendar, which I'm going to touch on a bit today, the different moments of the Nativity from when the actual birth of the baby Jesus, and then the time when the angel appeared to the shepherds and told them where to find the child, and the story of the three wise men, or the magi, or sometimes called the three kings, again, who came from far off lands. And there's all the feast days that occur through Advent and Christmas time, which are various saints. There's the Jesse tree, which introduces children to the events of the Old Testament leading right up to the birth of Christ. And then there are the O antiphons, which focus on the coming of Christmas over the last days coming towards Christmas. So there is a wealth of material that can be used. So you can see in front of me here, this is a nativity scene that lends itself to presenting quite a lot of things and quite a lot of events and moments. We have the shepherds here. We have the three wise men here. And then you have Mary and Joseph. And you have a little manger with the baby Jesus as well. So this can actually provide material for 3 different presentations. Also, it's nice to have this. These are little buttons, and they have got patterns on them, flower patterns mostly, and it's a wonderful thing to find something tangible for the children when, there they are, when they can offer up their little sacrifices or their prayers, and when they do that, they can take a button, for example. You could use little stones, but the buttons are really cute. So people who get this kit actually get a little jar of buttons as well. And when they make their little prayer or they've done a little sacrifice, they can place it in a little container, a little tray there, and as that builds up, one can see the prayers and the sacrifices that are happening in the classroom. And then at the end, towards the end, they can use that to make a little flower pattern or what have you in a little card. There are lots of the ideas that you can do like that. So this is one item. And then, of course, you have on the front of this box, you have a painting. And it's actually the painting that is in the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem. That's a lovely thing to consider. This is actually there. If you go to Bethlehem and you go to visit the Church of the Nativity, you will see this original image there. So it's quite a rich image. It has the shepherds there, and Mary and Joseph and the baby Jesus, the ox and the ass. It's a rather lovely painting. And then at the back, well, there is the possibility of placing the background of the Nativity that has been specially prepared for this project, the SALT project, the SALT approach. So we have in this picture, it's like a simulation of the Nativity scene, and there's actually a little manger in here as well. The straw, just a very simple background there. And when you're presenting, if you're presenting the birth of Jesus, you're not going to have these additional figures. They're not going to feature. So they can come out gradually over a number of days when you're doing different presentations. And neither would these feature when you're doing the first presentation. And probably not the angel as well. So it starts off very simple. And that's how it would look at the very beginning. But we'll just put some of these back here now, just for show. There you go. So So there are the different figurines here. The three major I've got there, gold and frankincense and myrrh images on them. So here's a little presentation that is thinking about the Nativity at the beginning of Advent and through the eyes of Mary. So it's focusing particularly on introducing the Advent calendar. It says as a key concept here, Advent is a time to prepare to celebrate the time when God came into the world and was born as a child in Bethlehem. And Mary pondered these amazing events as his mother. Now, you can use a number of different things to help you build into that lesson. And you have, for example, in certain grades, there might be a special feature on the Advent calendar itself. So in some grades, there's a special focus on that. And there are various of these that one can find. It's really great to try and source one that has religious meaning and a certain richness about it. And inside each one of these little numbers, here's number 1 is right here in this particular case. And it says on the back that it's got an image that corresponds to that particular day, the first day leading towards the 24 days. And inside there is an image, but there is also a quote from Scripture. So we can have a look in here and see what we've got inside here. Number 1. So if you are able to see that, you will see that there is a candle and there is a quote about the light. I'll just read it. It says here, "The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light." Isaiah 1. So it can be something that if you're trying to introduce the calendar to children and you find one that's got meaning to it. This one is from the Vermont Christmas Company, and I know they do bring out very beautiful calendars and all kinds of things. They've got a good supply of that each year. There we go. So there's that. Then you've got a good thing to refer to is the liturgical wheel. So if you have a liturgical wheel, you can actually, it's a great time to be introducing it if you haven't already done so earlier in the year, but it begins with Advent. The liturgical year begins with Advent. And we're kind of right up here now, towards the end of ordinary time, and Advent will be beginning before too long. And to show them the place of Advent, the time in the year that it happens, that it's 4 weeks of Advent preparing, then you have Christmas, and you have Christmas celebration time here after Christmas. And the Christmas indicator is here for Christmas Day. So that's something to discuss with the children. Another thing to introduce can be the map of the Holy Land, and just point out where Nazareth is and where Jerusalem is. So Jerusalem is here and Nazareth is here. Wrong thing. Nazareth is here. And Judea, you might want to point out this whole region being Judea, and this is the region of Galilee. So it's another thing. These things, as often as you can bring them in front of the children and they have a chance to have a look and then to handle these things, you are really sowing great seeds for them of understanding and remembering what these events are. So here's an example of how the presentation might go. It's just an introduction, so we're not talking about lighting a candle, and it's very much coming from the perspective. This particular presentation, there are different guides that have a little tweak in them. This one is coming from the perspective of looking at the whole event of Christmas through Mary's eyes, which occurs in one of the primary grades, perhaps it's 3rd or 4th grade. I can't remember just now, but it's in the program that is being used by some schools. So the presentation goes a bit like this. Christmas is a special time of the year, a very special time. It celebrates one of the greatest events, if not the greatest event from one certain perspective imaginable, because it's about when God became a human being, came down to the earth that he had created and was born as a child in a place called Bethlehem. Bethlehem is in the land of Israel, and you can see where it is. Here's my little magnet map. There's Bethlehem. It's not far from Jerusalem and quite a few days distant from Nazareth. Mary and Joseph had to travel from here down to here at a certain time of the year, around the time we now call Christmas, for a census. You will hear about this another time, but they travelled this way, probably using a donkey or sharing a donkey. So that's where that happened, and it happened around the time that we call now Christmas. And here we have the calendar of the church year, and this is where the church year begins. It begins with Advent, and there's 4 weeks in Advent, and then Christmas comes, and there's 3 weeks after Christmas of celebrating Christmas, and then the rest of the year follows on. So the church's year begins actually around the end of November or the beginning of December, just at the beginning of December usually. Now this year, children, we're going to look at Christmas particularly from the perspective of Mary, through the eyes of Mary, who was Jesus' mother, and we can learn a great deal from her. And this is where the children will respond, and you can ask them perhaps, I wonder why preparing our hearts is the most important thing around Christmas time, and that we need to prepare. How can we do that? How can we prepare? This is where you might mention about the little buttons that can actually reflect their thoughts and their prayers and their offerings. If they spend a little time in the prayer space, they can place one of those in the little tray there. So the time leading up to Christmas has got a special name. It's called Advent. Advent, and that means it's a time of preparation. And it's a bit like the other time of preparation in the church year, also purple. So we have Advent and we've got Lent. Lent prepares for Easter. Advent prepares for Christmas. And they're both purple because they are time of preparation. So Advent is the time to ponder the events. Let's have a look here. The events that took place leading towards Christmas and the very Christmas story itself. It's a time to offer welcome gifts to Jesus. That's another place where you can introduce these. Today, we're going to think about the Advent calendar. And I have a calendar here to share with you. It's a brand new little calendar. And it's got a beautiful scene, as you can see there, a nativity scene. And it has little openings. There are 24 of them. And one of the things that we're going to do this year in the classroom is each week to open up enough of those in a week so that by the time we finish the school term, all of them will be opened up. So I reckon it's about 4 a week to open up. We can do it in the morning when we start the day. Perhaps you can make the appropriate suggestion to the children. So behind each one of these, there is a little message from Scripture. And there's a little image as well that matches the particular day as we draw closer and closer to Christmas. So let's open up our first one for today. We'll open 4 this week, but this one you can see inside there's a little candle that's been lit, a lit candle, and we have a quote, and it says, "The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light." And that's from the prophet Isaiah. So that's kind of how you would present it to children. Now, another way of presenting the calendar is to present something quite different that is a bit permanent. And here we have an example of an Advent calendar which has got a scene at the top. These are available. If you hunt around, you'll find them, although it's increasingly difficult to find Advent calendars like this that have got a religious theme. But they are available if you go to the right places to find them. But this is one that has drawers, and the drawers have got numbers. And there's quite a sizable drawer there that actually you could populate with a message, a scroll, and an image that can be taken out and explored. You might use something like this other one as a bit of a guide for you to know how to populate those drawers. More than populating it with lollies, which can be the tendency at the moment, but to populate it with something that's relevant to each day as we grow closer and we come closer and closer to Christmas. That's another thing that you can consider trying to access. Okay. Now, when it comes to choices, it's to offer the children one or two ways of reflecting upon the Advent calendar idea in drawing or colouring or a simple craft idea. And another thing is to identify perhaps specific little goals of prayer and their efforts to prepare their hearts, with good deeds and with their prayers, perhaps providing a list of possibilities that can be built into the Advent calendar. And as a closure, to try and select a suitable carol for Christmas or an Advent song. There is a very beautiful video clip from the Brother Francis, which actually captures very well the whole purpose of Christmas and sets it in a much bigger frame. It's called "What More Could He Give?" It's a very beautiful thing that you might be able to access on the internet, and there is a video clip connection here in the booklet.